Good morning, everyone. Yay, beautiful. My name is Donna McCartney, and I'm honored to be your worship associate today. I'm joined by Wendy Karn, our intern minister, and Jacob Swetland, our director of musical ministries, if I can spit it out here, and Danielle Lewis, the newest member of the team, who is our director of religious education for children and youth. And she's right back there. Okay. And so we welcome all of you this morning. Whether you have been here 30 years or 3, 10 months or 10 minutes, and whether you strolled, rolled, Zoom, ran, or danced in, we are glad you have joined us today. Some of you may have noticed that's a different script than you usually hear. The worship committee has been very busy on updating the script and make some changes, so we'd appreciate some feedback on what you think, and the laughs are a good sign. Okay. So we are a community of many beliefs, and we are committed to creating a welcoming community. We need not think alike to love alike. So first of all, happy Father's Day to all of our fathers joining us today, whether you're biological or by choice. We're happy to celebrate you today. We'd like to recognize the many volunteers who have helped put the service together today. And beside those, there are lots of other people behind the scenes, but thank all of you for all of your hard work to make this work today. And that we also acknowledge that our building rests on the ancestral homelands of the Hashiman and Tongva tribes. Let us pause and remember that we live on ground that is sacred, ground that cries out for justice and for responsible stewardship. As Unitarian Universalists, we have many different beliefs, but we are one loving community. We are bound together not by a common set of rules or beliefs, but rather a covenant or promise. The foundation of our UU covenant affirms the inherent worth and dignity of every person. The covenants we will focus on today are our first one and also our second principle. We seek justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. Today we celebrate Juneteenth and the reparative justice that will move us into a hopeful future. To our roomers, we invite you to silence your cell phones. For our Zoomers, good morning Zoomers, we invite you to say hello in the chat. And I want to extend a special welcome to visitors. If you are seeking a spiritual home, we hope you'll find it here. So let our service begin with the lighting of our chalice. In a minute, I'm going to invite up Jenny Chan, who will be lighting our chalice. She has been a member of our church since 2016. She lives in Fountain Valley and is an engineer and has been married for more than 40 years. Yay. A fun fact about Jenny is that we call her Ginny as her nickname, but her legal name is Virginia. She was named for the state she was born in. Yay. All right, so come on up, Jenny, and please light our chalice. Yeah, this one. And let's say our unison affirmation together. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. To dwell together in peace, to seek truth in love, and to help one another. This we affirm together. Sometimes a little bit tricky. You can do a little bit lower. Oh, you know what? Here. The third time's going to be the charm here. There you go. That's it. Can I mention that you're being brave right now, or be quiet about it? Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Jenny. Appreciate your help.
Please rise in body or spirit and let's sing our opening song.
Rejoice. Our call to worship is entitled Free at Last and written by poet Sojourner Kincaid Roll, especially for Juneteenth, the United States federal holiday commemorating emancipation of enslaved African Americans. General Granger brought the news to Galveston. The war is over. President Lincoln signed a decree. The Emancipation Proclamation declares all who live in bondage here shall from now until be free. After 300 years of forced labor, hands bound, descendants of Africa picked up their souls, all that they owned, leaving shackles where they fell on the ground, headed for the nearest resting place to be found. Some went no further than shack out back, oft only a lean-to shed, hard ground for a bed, hard labor, no pay, but the will to survive. Though they couldn't call it their own, they still declared, "This is my home." Some went to the nearest place of the Lord, to some hollow place in the brush or a clearing in a grove where folk gathered neath a standing tree and sang, "Thank you, Jesus, for delivering me." Some ran as far as they could go into the service of the man on the neighboring land, working for a pittance and a little plot of space, much like they did as a slave. Some made a beeline for the nearest saloon, singing a song, picking a tune, toasting the Union and Lady Luck, setting the flow, dancing the jig, and the buck, patting themselves on their whip-scarred backs, carousing from night into day. Some went the way of the river, following the Rio Grande or swimming up the flowing Mississippi, hastening to get as far as they could, trusting their futures into sanctuary and friendless, unknown territories. Some kept running like a stone on a hill, never to grasp a firm place to rest. Some even went to the promised land. Wherever they went, alone or abreast, at the end of the journey they cried, "I've done my best." Every year in the Lone Star State, in towns from sea to sea, sons and daughters of those that were held hold celebrations, the time when their forebears got the news, the war is over, all men were free. They will always remember, they will never forget, Juneteenth, when their forebears could shout, "Free at last, hallelujah, I'm free."
I got news, I got news, I got news, oh Lord, I got good news. Good news, got good news, that's good news, got good news. Got a proud man to the kingdom, that's good news, got good news, got good news, good news, good news, good news, good news, good news, got news, I got news, I got news, oh Lord, I got good news. Good news, got good news, that's good news, got good news. Got a roll that's good news, that's good news, got good news, got good news, good news, good news, good news, good news, good news, got news, I got news, I got news, oh Lord, I got good news. Got a heart that's good news, that's good news, got good news. Got a heart that's good news, that's good news, got good news. Got lay down this word and shoulder up my news, and good news, good news, got news, I got news, I got news, oh Lord, I got good news. Got a song to sing, that's good news, that's good news, got good news. Got a song to sing, that's good news, that's good news, got good news. Got a good news, good news.
Thank you. So now is time for all ages with our Director of Religious Education for Children and Youth, Danielle Lewis. Indeed.
All right, Juneteenth for Maisie. Maisie wants to play outside, but it's too late. It's getting dark, Maisie. It's time to stay inside. Maisie wants a cookie, but it's time for bed. Not now, little one. It's too close to bedtime. Maisie wants to stay up late, but she is too little. Bedtime is the rule, sweet girl. Why so grumpy, Sugar Bear? Asked Dad. I can't go where I want to, and I can't have what I want or do what I want, answers Maisie. Well, tomorrow you can have a celebration, says Dad. What are we celebrating? Asked Maisie. We will celebrate the day your great-great-grandma Mose crossed the Liberty, the day we will celebrate by us and many more families, on the day we call Juneteenth. Dad lifts Maisie into his arms. I bet you're tired of hearing no all the time. Well, great-grandma Mose heard no even more. Grandma Mose worked in the fields that stretched all the way to the sunset. He and the other slaves would be bone tired, and then they had to keep going. Their masters wouldn't let them quit, but as they worked, they thought about freedom. And finally, before they went to sleep at night, they prayed about freedom and made plans for change and a better future. Some slaves ran north for freedom, following the bright star to the sky. They sweat, they bled, they cried. Those cries were quieted by a single proclamation by a brave president. Grandpa Mose heard the proclamation read from the balcony of a hotel on that warm June day in Galveston, Texas. Grandpa Mose heard nothing but cheers, saw nothing but happiness, and felt nothing but pride, shared by all those around him. The cheers became dancing, the dancing became celebrating. It went on and on into the night. Grandpa Mose and the others had found freedom. They continued to work, but this time they were paid for their hard work. So they worked and they saved, and they never forgot the moment they heard, the moment that changed their lives forever. But things weren't perfect. Black people still struggle to stand shoulder to shoulder with white people. They still weren't treated as equal. It wasn't easy, but they never gave up, and every year on Juneteenth, they remembered. They marched for jobs, they lobbied for schools and the right to vote. They shouted for opportunity. And every year on Juneteenth, they celebrated and they remembered. They learned and they grew. They forgave. They excelled and achieved. Now, sweet Maisie, it is your turn to celebrate, just like great-grandpa Mose. It's your turn, Maisie, to eat barbecue and drink strawberry pop. It's your turn to celebrate. And to remember, on June 19th, 1865, soldiers arrived in Galveston, Texas, announced the end of the Civil War and the end of slavery in the United States. It was more than 2 years after President Lincoln's, I can't say this word very well, proclamation celebrated every year on June 19th. Juneteenth commemorates the announcement of the abolition of slavery and the emancipation of African American citizens throughout the entire United States. Thanks, guys, for bearing with me for that one. Okay.
Hold you in our love as you go,
caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied to a single garment of destiny. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. There are some things in our social system to which all of us ought to be maladjusted. Hatred and bitterness can never cure the disease of fear. Only love can do that. We must evolve for all human conflict a method which rejects revenge, aggression, and retaliation. The foundation of such a method is love. Before it's too late, we must narrow the gaping chasm between our proclamations of peace and our lowly deeds which precipitate and perpetuate war. One day, we must come to see that peace is not merely a distant goal that we seek, but a means by which we arrive at that goal. We must pursue peaceful ends through peaceful means. We shall hew out of a mountain of despair a stone of hope. I invite you at this time for a moment of reflection, silent reflection, considering what a stone of hope looks like. Juneteenth, National Independence Day, was signed into law by President Joe Biden on June 17th, 2021. At that time, I was a store manager at Starbucks, and late in the day, on June 18th, I'm finishing up my work and I see this email pop up on my computer marked urgent. My heart sank a little, I have to tell you, because no matter what job you're in, that's rarely good news. In this case, it was surprisingly great news. The Juneteenth holiday was going into effect immediately, and I needed to contact each of my partners, that's what we call employees at Starbucks, each of my employees, to let them know that the next day they would be getting paid time and a half. That part turned out to be the easiest part, because the more challenging part was explaining what Juneteenth was to each of those people. Now, I had heard about Juneteenth, because I listened to a lot of podcasts, and I have for a very long time. But now that I'd heard of it, I wasn't really prepared to speak about it at length with 18 people. So I'm glad that there was a handout available with talking points. And it took some time to go through this with people. They kept saying, wait, what is this? Except for one person who had been a reporter for the Daily Pilot for 25 years. So the Daily Pilot is this local paper that used to be everywhere. It was in our house every day for the first years of my life, and it still exists, but in a smaller way. But anyway, he had written a piece on Juneteenth when he was working sometime in the 1990s, he thought. So every other person I talked to had more questions than I could answer, and I understand that in some ways. It's pretty rare that we get a new federal holiday. Martin Luther King Day was the last federal holiday signed into law, and that was in 1986, long, long before the vast majority of my team was even born. Juneteenth is a second Independence Day. The first one started July 4th, 1776. The Declaration of Independence was signed by our forefathers. The United States has won the Revolutionary War, granting freedom from colonial rule of the British Empire. But that freedom was not granted to everyone. At that time, 90% of the roughly 250,000 African Americans that were in the United States at that time were enslaved. By the time of the Civil War in 1861, the number of enslaved people had risen to almost 4.5 million people. The Emancipation Proclamation was delivered in 1862, and at that time, institutionalized slavery came to an end, at least officially, on January 1st, 1863. In the aftermath of the Civil War, it took 2.5 years to get that to the farthest north of the Confederate States, in Texas. News didn't travel all that fast, even in the best of times during the 1860s, and it's not really like you could get on Facebook and see how your friends were doing in Louisiana or the Carolinas. There was no TV, there was no radio. There was mail service, but war brings chaos and is very disruptive to all the ways that people normally communicated. War is still chaos, and that sadly has not changed. But 2.5 years is still a really long time. There were telegraphs and newspapers that made it out that far, but that was not the only problem. Certainly, some people knew, but that information was not delivered in a way that would end institutionalized slavery on the same timeline as it did other places. One of the main problems was there simply wasn't enough Union soldiers in Texas to enforce the new law. Many families from neighboring states had moved their household into Texas early in the war to avoid the inevitable violence. There's evidence that some landowners deliberately withheld this news so that they could get another season of crops harvested. When Major General Gordon arrived in Galveston, he didn't come alone. He came with 7,000 Union troops. And it's also worth noting that all 250,000 enslaved people were not present for the reading of that notice that granted their freedom. They heard from their captors, from the people that they were working for in many cases. And though it took 2.5 years to get there, that kind of news does travel fast. In that decree, it was recommended that these freed people should stay at their jobs and know that they would be paid from now on. And it's possible that some folks did that, but as we heard in our opening reading by poet Sojourner Kincaid Roll, reactions were varied. Freedom looks different to everyone. Many left the state immediately, headed north or to nearby states in search of family members who had been taken to other parts of the country during slavery. June 19th, 1965 was a second Independence Day that ended institutionalized slavery in this country. And the first celebrations took place the following year in Galveston, mostly among church communities, and this tradition spread rapidly to other parts of Texas and to the southern states and around the country among newly freed African Americans and their descendants. Juneteenth celebrations have been happening ever since. The creation of this federal holiday in 2021 took a lot of people by surprise. I heard a lot of comments from people saying things like, wow, that came out of nowhere. And that's not true, though. You know what is true? even the smallest changes in government policy can take a really, really, really long time to manifest. The push to recognize Juneteenth has had stops and starts for decades, but it was through the dedicated effort of a smaller group of people than you might imagine that actually pushed it over the line. Perhaps the most dedicated person is a woman named Opal Lee. She is known as the grandmother of Juneteenth, and this is her story.
At 95 years young,
Put it that way.
Opal Lee shows no signs of slowing down. Her life story has become legendary for her unwavering mission as the grandmother of Juneteenth.
At what point did you decide that you wanted Juneteenth to be a national holiday?
I felt like I hadn't done enough. I was 89 years old when I got to thinking about it. I just decided.
So it wasn't until then, it wasn't until 89.
No. Mm-mm. I was old as dirt. I decided that maybe if a little old lady, 89 years old, in tennis shoes, walking from Fort Worth to Washington, somebody would pay attention.
And they did when she started Opal's Walk, trekking 2.5 miles at a time. For the 2.5 years it took for General Gordon Granger to arrive in Texas and inform enslaved black people of their freedom after the Emancipation Proclamation in 1865. She delivered 1.5 million signatures to Congress, clinching victory when legislation passed last year.
The bill is passed.
It was signed by President Biden at the White House, establishing Juneteenth National Independence Day.
What do you think of when you look at that pen?
That it has done so much for freedom.
Long before the former school teacher and mother of 4 launched a national campaign, her recognition of Juneteenth came at an early age.
When I was a little one and we lived in Marshall, Texas, we'd go to the fairground. There'd be games and food and food and food. I'm here to tell you, it was like Christmas.
But June 19th wasn't always a celebratory occasion. In 1939, when Opal was 12 years old, her family moved to a home at this corner in Fort Worth that was torched by a white mob.
The paper says there were some 500 folk who gathered. They drug the furniture out and burned it. Burned the house too. My parents never, ever talked to us about it. Not ever.
Why do you think that was?
I don't know. They accepted what had happened.
Acceptance, but for her mother, not defeat.
After that house was destroyed, she worked untiringly till she got another one. I say that maybe I got my tenacity from her. I've got a long way to go.
That tenacity is now driving Opal to erect a new national museum on her own land dedicated to telling the story of Juneteenth.
People think it's a black thing when it's not. It's not a Texas thing. It's not that. Juneteenth means freedom, and I mean for everybody.
For those who come after you, what do you want them to know when they hear the name Opal Lee?
I want them to know that the little old lady dreamed and they can dream too, and their dreams can come to fruition.
You for singing that hymn for Opal. I have a couple other things to say about her. So that plot of land where the house once stood was owned by Habitat for Humanity. And Opal, being the person that she was, had been in conversation with Habitat for Humanity for years. And when she inquired if that piece of land was available and she could buy it, they said, no, we're going to give it to you, Opal. And they have been working on that house for the last 2 years. And I imagine if you look at the news on Wednesday, you may see Opal in her brand new home because she moved in 2 days ago. She is 97 years old and she has not stopped being an activist. I don't know how to follow up Opal, but she is leading our country into the future one day maybe, or should I say 2.5 miles at a time. We continue our progress. So in my time at Starbucks, there was this other initiative that came out in 2015 called Race Together. Baristas all over the country were encouraged to write or put stickers on the classic white cup to open up conversations about race with customers in this country. Howard Schultz, the CEO of Starbucks at the time, said this, quote, "Race Together is not a solution, but an opportunity to re-examine how we can create a more empathetic and inclusive society, one cup at a time," unquote. I can appreciate the intention behind this, of course. It echoes our current first principle that we honor the worth and dignity of every person. And I found out very quickly that we were not ready for this in Orange County. We were not ready for this anywhere in the country. I had a very diverse staff at the time, and we tried it for about 2 hours. And then I gave people the option. It was an optional thing from the start, but no one tried much harder after that. The campaign itself was pulled after 1 week because people were not ready to engage in this conversation about race with strangers over the counter on a busy morning or at any time of the day. Not the baristas or the customers, and for the few of us who tried it, like I said, it was a hot mess. People who had seen full-page ads in the New York Times and USA Today had a lot to say about this campaign, and some were very offended. And they came in deliberately to challenge people in the stores. As Unitarian Universalists in 2024, I encourage us to have these conversations with each other. Let's have these conversations with each other in community. Wednesday is Juneteenth, and I encourage us to take this time to reflect on the history of the founding of our country. How have things changed? How can we go deeper into this work of equity as Unitarian Universalists? This holiday is a huge step forward in the healing of our nation. From the words of Martin Luther King, "Well, we shall hew out of a mountain of despair a stone of hope." Happy Juneteenth, everyone. May it be so.
Please rise in body or spirit, and let's sing our returning song.
We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. Oh, to be free. We are working to be free. Working to be free. We are working to be free of hate and greed and jealousy. We are working to be free. We can feed our every need. Our every need. We can feed our every need. Our every need. We can feed our every need. Start with love, that is the seed. We can feed our every need. Peace and freedom is our cry. Hear our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Hear our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without peace, this world will die. Peace and freedom is our cry.
Unitarian Universalist congregations are fully self-supporting, meaning that members and friends raise all the funds for the operating budget, ministries, and programs of our church. We're ever grateful for your gifts of time, treasure, and talent. OCUUC amplifies that spirit of generosity by sharing one half of the plate we receive with an organization that shares our values. This month, we're sharing our plate with the Ahashiman and Tongva Land Conservancy. It's a partnership between Ahashiman and Tongva descendants that is committed to acquiring, protecting, and preserving their shared ancestral homelands. They seek to reestablish Native people stewardship of these lands integral to their identity and their culture. There are multiple ways that you can support this church and this organization. So you can mail a check. You can go through our website and use an app called Vanco Mobile. If you're a roomer, you can also simply use the basket that is passed around. The choice is yours. All the information is on our website, should you need it. And as always, thank you so much for your generosity.
Amazing job today, choir. Just beautiful.
Please join us in singing We Gather Together, a song that puts our intentions into words and expresses our gratitudes for the many gifts that we share.
Now is a time when we honor the important events in our lives. You're invited, one and all, whether you are a member, a friend, or a visitor, to participate in our weekly rituals of joys and sorrows. And I would like to invite Don M. up here to join us. He is one of our pastoral care associates. So let's take a deep breath. Perhaps you come here today holding something close to your heart, moments in the last days, hours that have struck your core. If you'd like to honor such a profound joy or sorrow, you are invited to do so. If you're a roomer, you are invited to come forward and light your candle. And if you would like to share a joy or sorrow, you can use a slip of paper that's coming around to you right now. Just raise your hand and they'll bring it to you. If you're a Zoomer, you're invited to write your joy or sorrow in the chat. And once the roomers are done lighting candles, I will read all the joys and sorrows out loud. And Dawn will light a candle for the Zoomers. The first one I'm going to read, I'm so sorry, I cannot make out the name, but one of the people in this room said a former neighbor sent kids to throw eggs at my home the other night, and I watched him run to their SUV after the occurrence. I'm so sorry that happened. Carol R. says a UUC friend and her family are offering prayers and healings of support. I have an anonymous contribution that says, I have a brother who has chosen to admit himself to a medical detox and rehab. May he be in your thoughts and prayers, and collectively wish him well, peace, and freedom. So a candle of hope. Please light a candle of hope for my 84-year-old dad who took a fall last week, separated his shoulder, wrist, many bruised ribs, etc. But he has rebounded and said the fall was spectacular. Happy Father's Day to all dads. That's from Kristen M. Julie G says, wow, great music. Double wow. Phyllis. And from our Zoomers, Craig P. says, a joy for the chance to be in the DC area to lobby Congress for climate change with 850 others. A sorrow that I and some of the others are now positive for COVID-19. A hope that we will be well and back with you next Sunday. Linda C. has a concern for dear Jim, who broke a rib in a fall last week and will take a long time to recover. Francie Coleman has a joy. Stone is out. Kidney surgery was a success. Small procedure, and yet then Feeney. Thank you for all your good wishes and healing thoughts. Kathy N. spent the morning at Cade N's graduation from UCI. We could not be more proud of you. Love, Mom and Dad. And I have one from Reverend Sean. For Wendy, hey, that's me. Our intern minister, who has 3 times, twice with me, jumped in to preach for sick members and has taken on helping us transition between DRE. She said she rocks. Thanks, Sean. So we have a few more here. The Gebert family has lighting a candle of joy for our friends Matt and Claire, who are pregnant with a baby girl due this coming to December, and a happy Father's Day to wish our beloved Nathan a dad. David Carlson says, my son, Reverend David Carlson's completion of his first week of classes towards a Doctor of Divinity degree in community leadership transformation from the Garrett Seminary at Northwest University. We should meet for coffee when I'm there. Don Cherry and Ginger L. are proud of their grandson, Alex C., who graduated with honors from the Waldorf High School yesterday. So much good news. Karen Stoyanoff is lighting a candle of joy for her birthday that was yesterday. Her wonderful family, her 3 sons and significant others, and my amazing grandchildren all helped celebrate my day. Happy birthday, Karen. These flowers over here today are for Nancy and Tom L. The flowers today are in celebration of their 55th wedding anniversary this week. From Sarah C., they have a new cat. The name is Ben Art. A new cat name. Have a new cat name is Ben Art, and fashion and friendship like I'm cooking. Brianna Malone says, my child Sloan is struggling to accept the fragility and life of our powerlessness to change it. You all give me hope that I can help him through it, but I couldn't get him up to come today. Many of our joys and sorrows remain unspoken. Let us hold all the love and celebrations, hurts and sadnesses, both spoken and silent. Let our joys remind us to be thankful, and our concerns to remind us to hope. Our sorrows to remind us to connect. Let all of these moments remind us that we are not alone. I welcome up Dawn to read our pastoral prayer.
the basket woven. May we respond better to risks and dangers with a beloved community who can be counted upon as a woven basket that encompasses the gifts for protection, for honor, for ceremony, and for expressions of interconnectedness. May we prevail in our intentions to make a gift of the world to the next generation, of beings living and non-living that help it all come together for good.
So let's join together as we extinguish the flame of our chalice and say together, we extinguish our chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. So thank you so much for joining us this morning. If you're a guest or visitor or someone who hasn't yet been known to us, I invite you to become part of this beloved community. We would like to know more. If you would like to know more about our church, we invite you to stop by the welcome table. It's out there in the courtyard, where we have some goodies and information, or you can also contact us at the email addresses that are up on the screen. We want everyone to feel like they're a part of this beloved community. So please reach out, and we will help you get connected.
I come to you with one more joy. Tomorrow is my 83rd.5 birthday. Happy 85.3 birthday. Got to celebrate your 6-monthers when you get older. And that is from Dolly, who is in our Victoria room. Okay, so there's a lot going on today. Meet your delegates on Article 2 discussion is from 12 to 1 in Suite 7, so in a short period of time. And the UUA Animal Ministry from 2:30 to 3:30. Some all-church events that are happening. Share Ourselves School Supply Drive. Thank you so much for all of you who have contributed to this already. We already have a lot of school supplies, and they need more. So we'll be collecting until this last Sunday in June, and then I will take everything over to Share Ourselves. Let's see, what else is happening? Oh, Reverend Sean will be out of the office from June 24th through July 30th, and she will be joining us online in just a few moments to give us some words. And also, I will be out of the office until the last week of August, and it's been such a privilege and a pleasure to be here for all of you. Thank you. I've learned from all of you. And of course, we have our groups and weekly meetings, and I think that covers it for our announcements today, but Sean may have one more for you.
Hi, everyone. Sorry that I'm not able to be there with you today. I'm quarantining myself, but I am feeling much, much better. But I just want to give a real shout out because we've got a celebration today. We are having cake, and we're having I know there's cake and I think champagne and some sparkling cider, and there's even vegan muffins, I believe, for everybody. So I'm just really happy that we've got a contract. So we're moving forward. Yay. Go out, celebrate, pat yourself on the back, and give a big hug to everybody who's been on that sanctuary committee. So let me see if I've got them. All right, so we've got Linda Sperry, Craig Sperry, Nancy Lockery, Barbara Morahiro, Audrey Prosser, Deborah Quam, and I believe that Jennifer is now on that committee too, but they have stuck through it all. They have backed it. They've done everything so wonderful, and they deserve just huge, huge thank yous. So give them a hug. And if I missed anybody, I'm sorry. So at any rate, we're moving forward, folks. Have an absolutely wonderful Sunday.
Thank you so much, Reverend Sean. Well, it's that time. It's that time that I say Happy Father's Day, Happy Juneteenth, and may you celebrate outside. This service is over, but our service continues.
Let's go out and